Hello and welcome to the very first show of the Gymnastics Network. This show is the pre-game show. So today we're going to be going over all of the meets for this weekend specifically, and we're going to be covering everything and everyone that you need to understand and know for this coming weekend. The following Sunday, so this coming up Sunday, we're going to have another show come out. That show will be an overview of everything that happened over the weekend, and we're also going to have interviews with athletes. So it's going to give you a little bit of an inside look into the gymnastics community. So the reason I started this show was because I wanted to teach people about gymnastics. I wanted to increase the amount of knowledge that exists in the gymnastics world. Because I believe that men's gymnastics is the best sport in the whole world. Nothing is better than this sport. And to see it go under because there's no coverage, there's no understanding, is wrong. And I'm not going to allow that to happen. So I created this show so that we could teach people more about gymnastics and also grow the community. Give us a place where everybody can come, watch gymnastics, understand it all, and build a community. So, with that said, let's get into it. This first show that we're going to be covering, like I said, is the pregame show. So the way that we have it structured is there's going to be one athlete per event for each meet. So the first meet that we have up is OU versus Air Force. It's very simple. There will be one athlete from Air Force, one athlete from OU, and as we go down the lists, you'll see what we're talking about. It's a great show, and I'm very, very, very excited. In terms of who I am, my name is Isaac Hammett. I am a Penn State alumni. I was a ringman at Penn State for 4 years. It was a great time. I loved my experience. And that's another reason why I wanted to start this show. Because if gymnastics is going to go under, there will no longer be opportunities for people like me, for people like Canon, to experience collegiate gymnastics, to take gymnastics to the next level. And I want that for everybody. So we thought this show would be an amazing additive so that there can be a little bit more stimulus in the community, and I felt that we needed it. So I'm going to have my co-host Canon Johnson here introduce himself, and then we're going to get into it.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Canon Johnson. I'm an ex-Penn State gymnast, now gymnastics analyst, gymnastics commentator, however you want to say. I'm just joining Isaac on the show as a guest star, and I'm happy to be here.
It's great to have you, man. I'm super excited for this episode. So, the first thing that we have up today is an educational segment. So like I said before, the biggest thing about this show is that I want to be able to teach people more about gymnastics because we've tried so many different things to teach people. We've tried at the beginning of a meet, there's maybe like a 30-second clip like, hey, look out for this skill. But I don't like that. I feel that that does the sport a disservice. I don't think you should just be looking out for one skill. I think people are smart enough to understand the sport. We don't need to break it down into a 10-0 system. People can understand the system that we have, and we can make gymnastics something so great. But that starts with education. So the first thing that we're going to get into today is an educational segment of myself. Canon put together a great video for us. It has an explanation of start values. So the way that the gymnastics works is, if you know, you know, but if you don't, here's a good explanation, okay? Every skill that you do in a routine has a letter value to it. So maybe you've heard somebody say, hey, that back up rise Maltese is an E. An E means that it is worth 0.5 tenths. So it goes up in a scale like this. A is 0.1, B is 0.2. C is 0.3, D is 0.4, and so on. It goes all the way up to like a G, but not a lot of people do Gs. So what this allows us to do is say, okay, you have a 10-skill routine, and out of all of those 10 skills, you're going to do a skill that has a value, right? So as you accumulate values, you accumulate a start value. So I think you'll understand a little bit more when we break down the video. So we're going to pull up the educational video here. Kenan, you want to say anything?
Yeah, about the educational section, for the parents at home listening, for the JO kids, or even NCAA athletes, I think this section is going to be really helpful for the sport. It's going to help explain to some of the spectators and everybody involved in the gymnastic community why where our start value comes, why each skill is valued how it is, and I just think that this could be really helpful for the community because I think the main barrier in entry to gymnastics is how complicated that it can be. Where something like football is widely covered and everybody understands it, gymnastics isn't like that right now, and that's the goal of this segment is to make it extremely easy to understand for everyone. And as the season goes on, you guys will be able to understand, will piece together bits and pieces and be like, oh, that was a long hanging skill, that was a swing to strength skill, and that's basically the goal of the segment.
So today, the only thing that we're going to go over, we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to be going over the start value. We're going to be going over the start value and the values of skills. Okay, so let's get into it. All right. So here's a clip of me last year when I was still a gymnast. It's my ring routine, and essentially we're just going to break down each one of the skills, and then we're going to have a running total at the bottom that explains how much each one of the skills is worth. So let's get into it. So here I am. I'm getting lifted up to the rings. Simple. I got to get my grip set.
Thank you, Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos is the man. So this is not a skill. I'm not doing anything yet. I'm doing a cast. Now I'm going and doing a backup rise. So if you can see here, it's very easy to understand. A backup rise Maltese is a swing to strength. But the only thing we need to worry about right now is this letter, the E, and the 0.5. Like I said before, remember, A is 0.1, B is 0.2, C is 0.3, and so on. This skill particularly is an E, so it is worth 0.5. So down here, it's kind of hard to see, but our running total is 0.5 currently. This will increase as we do more and more skills. So there goes the first skill. Next skill is a bounced across.
You know, gymnastics got a lot of funny skills. A lot of the names of these skills are really funny, we have a bunch of skills, Yamawaki, Miyachi. I tried to keep all the names very simple and easy to say to help with the understanding of the sport.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. So again, here, it's a D, like we said before. D is worth 0.4. So now our running total is at 0.9. We're going to move on to the next skill. I pull into a Maltese. Pull the Maltese is an E, right? So that's 0.5. Now our running total is at 1.4. Come down, I swing down. That's not a skill. I cast again, come through, Yamawaki. So as you can see in the Yamawaki here, a Yamawaki is a C and it's a 0.3. It's a double front flip through the rings. You see a lot of ring guys do this. And I feel like this is very important to cover right now because almost every clip that we show today on rings, they do this skill. So now I feel that people can start to understand and say, oh, you know what? I recognize that skill. That's a Yamawaki. That's a C. That's worth 0.3 because he did a double front flip. I'm tucked up and I'm doing a flip through the rings. So after that, I swing, right, into a backup rise planche. So that planche, again, backup rise planche, is a C. We're not worried about element groups right now. We're just focusing on the actual value. So get used to, hey, when I see somebody swinging, right, swinging through the bottom or swinging through the top, and then they stop, right? It's about where you stop. And he stops in a planche, that's a backup rise straddle planche. So that's a C, 0.3. Our running total is now at 2.0.
You're looking for the gymnast to stop moving for 2-second hold. And sometimes they tell the gymnast to hold for 3 seconds that the judges can start a little bit short.
So next we have the C again, which is a backup rise cross. I swung into the backup rise cross and I stopped. I stopped in the cross position. Therefore, it's a backup rise cross. So that is a C, 0.3. Our running total is now at 2.3. I do a pull out. Not a lot of guys do that. Not to brag or anything, but so as you can see, I'm holding my L, come through. I do a dislocate through handstand, which is a B, and then I do a giant. Now, the giant is very important to cover, okay? A giant is any time that you swing at all and stop in a handstand, okay? You can do this forwards or you can do it backwards. I do a front giant, so I'm doing it forwards because I'm falling forwards when I do it. It's a C, and it's worth 0.3, okay? There are a lot of guys. Same thing with the Yamawaki. almost everyone is doing a front giant at some point in their routine or a back giant. And I think a great routine that we're going to watch today is a routine by Danny Graham. He does both giants both ways, and when we get to that, I'll make sure to point it out. And you can start to see the similarity in routines and then be like, oh, I understand that. I remember that from the clip. That's a C. That's worth 0.3 to the running total, right? And that is a giant. And, you know, you're already learning more and more about gymnastics. So here comes on to the next skill. And I believe, the last skill we have here is a dismount. So I do a laid out, full out. Didn't stick it, but what do you do? Can't stick every single one. So we're going to pull back here and look at this. So a laid out, full out dismount is a D, and it's worth 0.4. So now our running total is at a 3.5. I know it's hard to see, but trust me, it's a 3.5. So over here, we now break down the start value, right? So remember, our running total for all the skills that we had added up was a 3.5. Now we add in 12. This 12 we're going to get into on Sunday. Essentially, what this does is this is an execution score plus a category score. But we're going to get into that. But as for right now, the only thing you need to worry about is this 3.5. For everybody right now, just assume that it's 12. Everybody has this 12, and then you add in your difficulty here. And then that gives you your start value, right? Start value is where the routine starts from. So it doesn't start from a 10. It doesn't start from a 13. It starts from wherever all of your skills add up. So if this number was a 4.5, I would have started from a 16.5, and so forth. And then the final score over here, I know it's hard to see, is 14.35. 14.35 is my final score because essentially what we did was we took our start value and we subtracted deductions. Deductions are essentially anything that I do wrong in the routine up here. Maybe a form break, maybe I don't hold something long enough, maybe my arm is bent, maybe my leg is bent, and we can get into all of that, but I'm going to save that for much later. So you essentially take your start value minus all of the deductions that you had, and then you get your final score, which is 14.35. So
start values can be different on every event. A 15.5 start value is very hard and very high on rings, but a 15.5 on floor is pretty standard. And that's something that we'll try to incorporate in the lesson. Why start value
tips. If you have any questions, please leave comments down below and we will address them either on the show or address you directly because we want as many people as possible to understand the sport. So now we're going to get into the actual competitions that are going on this weekend. The first competition that we have up is Air Force at Oklahoma. Canon, why don't you take the floor here?
All right, let me start off by saying, hot take. Air Force is off to a hot start this year, being ranked 4th overall. Air Force, they're competing today, Saturday, at 7 p.m. And just a quick little breakdown of Air Force. Last year, they didn't graduate anyone. Their first meet last year, they scored a 381.9, which is at the Rocky Mountain Open, January 11th. The first meet this year, they scored a 384.1 in a tri-meet against ASZ and OU, which is good. You see they got almost a 3-point improvement from last year, which is really good. And here we have a graph of Air Force last year versus Air Force this year, just to show the consistent improvement. And as you can see, it's a great place for any team to be if they are starting where they left off last year, or they're even improving on that. That's what any head coach can want. I remember Randy Jepson telling all of us that if we started where we left off last year, we'd be in a very good spot. Because that's all what gymnastics is about. It's about continuously improving. You just want your team to get better and better and the gymnastics to get better and better. And clearly Air Force is doing something right here as they're showing early signs of that. I expect them to continue this, or, I expect them to continue this against their meet against OU this year.
Yeah, so like Cannon said, it is super important for teams to be able to improve every single year. And what you can see here is this is the first meet from Air Force of 2020 versus the first meet of Air Force versus 2021. Now, their floor score may have gone down a little bit, but floor scores can fluctuate from meet to meet, mostly just because you have to stick every single landing, right? So if you look at this graph here, they may be down a little bit in the first 3 events, but they've made very large improvements on high bar and P bars. And I believe that that is in part due to a freshman that they brought on this year named Garrett Branton. The kid is very, very, very gifted. And we're going to see as we go through more routines today, Garrett puts it down. He's an amazing gymnast, and it's really exciting to see him, especially on Air Force. So the next thing that we're going to go over is talking about OU. Now, OU currently is ranked number 1. And they're pretty far ahead of everybody that's competed so far. They're ranked number 1 on floor. They're ranked number 1 on pommel horse, rings, vault, and P-bars. They're only ranked 2nd on high bar, mostly because Michigan this year is very, very good at high bar. So last year, OU graduated Colin Kellogg, ring specialist, and Grant Kell, who is a pommel horse and high bar. Colin Kellogg, great rings guy. I competed against him many times. Great guy. Grant Kell, also great on pommel horse and high bar. So as you can see at this graph here, this is OU's first meet last year versus their first meet this year. And as you can see, like Canon had talked about earlier, coming to the floor and being better than you were last year is amazing. You look at these guys, their floor scores are about the same, but there's a huge improvement on pommel horse, almost 3 points. Still rings, improvement, vault, improvement, P-bars, improvement, and a pretty big jump on high bar as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this team develops compared to last year. Moving forward, we're going to talk about OU versus Air Force for this coming up weekend. This next chart we have is OU in 2021, which was their first meet, and Air Force's first meet. You can see that OU has Air Force beat on a lot of events, but it's really important to remember that when you're looking at a team, the team is not going in thinking, oh, we have to beat our opponent this week. A smart team is thinking about beating themselves. They're thinking about being better than they were last week. And like we saw in the prior graphs, like here, Air Force is doing a great job of that. They're doing a great job getting better on the events that they need to get better on, and I expect them to beat what they did on their first meet this week against OU. So I think it's going to be a really exciting matchup.
It's all about continuous improvement, just improving on the day before. On the day before, that's all about what gymnastics. In practice, you're just trying to get better than you were.
I mean, you can go into a competition and you can buy it's only going to get you better. You can take time and say, all I want to do this weekend is be better than great coaching as well, yes. So the next thing we're going to get into is we're going to break down each one of the events and talk about who to watch this weekend. So for the OU versus Air Force meet that takes place this Saturday, we have on floor Gage Dyer. This is our guy to watch. Gage Dyer is from OU. This is his routine from last weekend. Is a 14.85. He's currently ranked number 1 on floor. And as you can see, he deserves it. I mean, he's sticking every single landing that he's doing here, and the routine is very difficult. Also, keep an eye out for Morgan Seiler from OU. He's ranked number 2. Garrett Branton, like we had talked about earlier, he's ranked number 13. And Frankie Valentine, he does some good floor too.
I think Gage Dyer, if I'm not mistaken, has the highest start in the NCAA currently, which is something to look out for. I mean, just look at these landings, look at the difficulty in it. It's clear why he's ranked number 1. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he was an All-American last year off of the national average, and expect him this year to be pushing All-American for sure, and even going for national champion on the floor exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, Gage was ranked number 1 overall, and he had a high of 15.15. So if you think this 14.85 is impressive, he's got more in the tank. And don't get me wrong, beautiful routine, but he definitely has more. So, the next guy that we're going to get into is He's from OU. This is his routine from last weekend. He scored a 13.9, put him in rank number 3. Just a beautiful, beautiful routine.
Something you guys want to look out for is his extension. His extension fluctuates throughout the routine. Throughout the start, he's pretty open and pretty extended. As the routine goes on, he creates like a piking shape in his body, and judges will deduct for that. But overall, very clean routine from him. Great to see that the Sooners are getting it done on pommel horse with the loss of someone like Grant Kell, who is a great pommel horse worker.
True. So also keep an eye out for Noah Everett and Ethan Vasel. They're both ranked 11th and 12th respectively. So I always love when guys are ranked, especially on the same team, because what it allows and if you're scoring for the first team in that creates a better gymnastics. Like we said before, these guys are going in thinking about these guys are getting ready to be like, hey man, I'm going to take you down this weekend. So that's always fun to watch, and you can probably see that level of intensity, especially at Air Force. So the next event we got up is still rings. For this, we chose Matt Winsky. Matt Winsky is a great ringman. As you can see here, this is a routine from last week again. This is a 13.8. Put him in rank number 3. Also keep an eye out for Spencer Goodell, rank number 4. And Garrett, again, he's ranked 12th. And Alan Shadan, who is in rank 13. Like I said before, it's a great treat to have guys that are close to each other, especially in ranking. So if you look here, Matt Winsky and Spencer are only 0.05 apart. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they stack up against each other this weekend. Same thing with Garrett and Allen. They're very close, and I think they can do some great stuff. They're going to be competing against each other and trying to be better than they were last week.
Man, you got to love the drama, man. The two guys rank close to each other in the gym. You got to love that. You know, pressure makes diamonds. They always say that.
That's true.
You know, and you're in the gym competing against somebody good. You know, I know when I was in the gym, Steven and Nick were always competing. You know, Isaac, I'm sure you could talk about your time with you and Noah.
Oh, yeah. I want to talk about me and Noah. I mean, I love Noah Robeson. He's a great gymnast. I used to love him. But we were really good friends. Talking about him every weekend. I'm sure we were it was always lighthearted. You guys in the gym pushing each other to be better all the time. That's like you said, pressure makes diamonds. So, next guy we have up is actually a floor routine. This floor routine,
Vault.
a vault. Excuse me. The vault is we got a couple vaults lined up. The first one is Mason Menser. He's from OU, scored a 14.3 last week, put him in rank number 5.
It's a beautiful Yurchenko entry. OU really knows how to get it done on vault. They're definitely a vault team. Look out for them.
Next guy we have up is Morgan Seiler. He's currently ranked number 4. Keep an eye out for him. Just a beautiful cause 2.5. And then we also wanted to throw in an Air Force guy that we found really interesting. And I think this encompasses the mindset of what's going on over at Air Force. Just watch this guy in the back. They're going nuts for this guy. Watch this. Just look at him.
Well, that's what gymnastics is about, competing, just having fun out there. And his teammates clearly got his back. Clean, double full. Nice to step out, but, you know, it's great. You know, great to see people out there going out there and kill it.
And that's really what I feel like makes the gymnastics meet special, especially if you're able to come in and you may understand that we're not going to have the best scores, you know? We're just not. But you come in and you say, we're going to crush it this weekend regardless. We're going to do the best gymnastics that we can do.
Gotta have a good time.
And that's what you saw in that clip. He does a double full. It's not the hardest vault in the world. But they're having a great time. The whole team's popping off. The guy in the back screaming. They're pumping him up. And that's what it's really about. Next thing that we have up is a P-bar routine from OU. From Air Force. Ethan Vasel. The reason I picked this routine, he may not be the highest rank, but I love how different this routine is. You don't see a lot of guys mounting that way, and then later on in the routine, you also see him go below the bar again. It's a really, really different thing to keep an eye out for. So we have Ethan Vasel. This is his 13.5 from last weekend. It put him in rank 9. You also have Allen, again, from Air Force. He's in rank number 5 right now. And then from OU, we have Matt Winsky. He's ranked number 3 with a 14.15 from last weekend. And then Spencer, who's ranked number 4 with a 13.8. So keep an eye out for those guys. It's going to be a really fun P-bar rotation, I believe.
Yeah, so we looked at Matt Winsky on the rings earlier. Matt Winsky was one of the greats in his JO days. Coming back from injury, he's got injured quite a few times in his college career. Definitely look out for him making a comeback this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast, especially on P-bars. I'm really excited. And if you watch this routine, he's got a couple of form breaks. But I think if he cleans that up this weekend, he could do a great job. I mean, little step on the dismount as well.
And 13.55 with 2 big steps back. So that's 6/10 back right there.
Yeah.
Puts him at a 14.15.
Absolutely.
That's a great routine.
I think he could do some really big stuff. All he's got to do is just put that dismount down, and he's going to be right up there with Matt Winsky. Next guy we have up is a high bar routine. Now, this is Garrett. Garrett is from Air Force. Currently, he's ranked number 2. This is his routine from last weekend. It was a 13.95. Just an absolute beautiful routine. Also, check out Vitali from OU. He's ranked number 3. Jack Freeman from OU. He's ranked number 4. And Cesar Garcia from OU, who's ranked number 5. OU currently on high bar is very, very good. Like I said, they're ranked number 2 on high bar, second to Michigan.
They got some great workers in Vitali and Jack, very clean high bar guys. Gage Dyer isn't mentioned, but Gage Dyer is a very good high bar guy for them. And, we're looking at Garrett Bronson just kill it. He got some great angles, great lines.
Watch this dismount. Double laid out, stuck.
Perfect, man. That's what gymnastics is about. Look at his teammates pumping him up, too.
And that's what the
Crazy.
meet's about. This is the last routine in the whole meet right here. They know that he just killed it. And that's what they care about. They care about their teammates doing the best gymnastics that they can do. And that's what makes it awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Garrett Bronson is a freshman, too. Look out for him in a couple years.
That's true. That is true. Garrett is only a freshman, which is the fact that he's a freshman and he's doing that caliber of a high bar set. It only means that he could go up from there, and it's going to be interesting, especially already having a double laid out. That's no joke. That's a good dismount.
Yeah, he's definitely a high bar guy for sure. But talking about overall winners, I think you have your mind set up that OU will probably take this. I do too. But anything could happen. Air Force, they have a great opportunity to improve on what they did last year, what they did last week, and just go out there and have fun. That's what gymnastics is about. And I think it's going to be really fun and interesting meet to watch. A lot of good names to look out for.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're looking at this whole meet, and I had to pick one for the whole weekend, I would probably pick this one. I think the energy that Air Force brings it's unmatched. I mean, those guys are having an absolute blast out there. And sometimes, especially when you're just watching a live stream, it can be really interesting to see that. And then OU as well. They've got a lot of great gymnasts, and Air Force does as well. So if you want to see some high caliber gymnasts and a lot of energy, that's a meet to watch. So the next meet that we have up is Ohio State at Illinois. This takes place at 2 p.m. on Saturday, which is today. It's going to come. Actually, I think this is going on right now as we're recording. But Illinois is currently ranked number 3. And they're taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes. It's the first meet of the season as well for Ohio. We're just going to go into some stuff that Ohio did last year. Kenan, you want to take that?
Yeah, Ohio started the season last year with the 397.6. So just like we were talking about earlier, we should be looking for them to be hitting around that mark this year or close to it or, even better, above it. Last year they graduated Bobby Castilla. He's a Palm Morrison rings guy. Sad to see him go. But they have 5 freshmen to bring out this week, which is going to be really fun and interesting to see how those guys compete and see where those guys are shaping up into lineups.
So next up we got Illinois. And Illinois has competed once this season, so we had a little bit more data to work with than we did Ohio, who hasn't done anything yet. But so we're going to pull up the Illinois graph here. This is Illinois' first meet of 2020 versus their first meet of 2021. They started this season this year with a 348.75. And they started their season last year with a 403.45. So last year, they definitely had a better first meet. But with Illinois, I really believe that they're not worried about that at all. They're great gymnasts, and I believe that they're going to easily break a 400 this weekend. Looking at this graph, you can see from their first meet compared to last year, they definitely are shy on every event that they had. But you got to remember, too, the judging right now is a little different. The first meet last year for Illinois was in person, and the energy that comes in a in-person meet compared to a virtual meet, which is what their first meet was this year, it's a lot different. So I do believe that this meet this weekend for the two of them is actually going to be in person, not a virtuous meet. So knowing Illinois, their energy is crazy. So I really, really, really think that they're going to put out probably about a 400, get above a 400 this weekend. Those guys are going to put it down.
Yeah, listen, one important thing to note is, this is a COVID season. You know, some people are having virtual meets. Sometimes they travel. This meet is in person. I think it's at Illinois home, which is going to be important for them. You know, they could ride off that hype train. You know, they wake up in their own beds and go to compete, where Ohio is going to go wake up in a hotel's bed and have to go to compete. There's a mental edge to that.
That's true, yeah.
And, you know, I talked to some of the Illinois gymnasts, you know, some of the people that I'm closer with, some of the people that I'm friends with. And, yeah, they're not worried about what happened last week. Last week was a rough showing for them. And, you know, you can't hide that. You have to talk about it. But expect them to start get the ball rolling on this meet. They're definitely not going to play around against Ohio State.
Oh, no. I mean, every time it's a Big Ten matchup, it's a whole new ball game. I mean, they're going to come out there swinging, and so is Ohio. They're going to come out there swinging just as hard. So it's going to be interesting to watch that. You know, Illinois may have had a rough first meet, but they are still ranked number 3 currently. So their rough is still pretty good, you know, especially in this season. They have a lot of firepower that I think they're going to be able to bring to the table, and it's going to be interesting to watch. The last time that these two teams faced off was actually in 2019. 2020, the season was cut short due to COVID, so their meeting was canceled. So they weren't able to actually compete. But as you can see, I'm going to pull up the score here. There was a short meeting back in 2019. It was a 406 to a 404. So only about 2-point difference. That's a close meet. Ohio ended up winning that. But as you can see, it was some of their highest scores for the whole year because it's a Big Ten matchup, and those things matter. The teams get fired up. It's a rivalry. There's another level to it that exists there. So it'll be interesting to watch for that.
You know, it's been 2 years since these teams have met each other. You know, they expect to see two very different teams, you know, going in for head coach Justin Spring and head coach Rustam, you know. Mm-hmm. They can't be expecting the same Illinois or the same Ohio State.
Tindall.
First up, it looks like we got Justin Tindall.
Jesse is a gift.
On the Commonwealth School of Wolverines, moving
gifted.
Juno.
I mean, this is a team from last year. Scored a 15-0. Last year he finished the season in number 9 overall. Also keep an eye out for Kazuki. He's from OSU. Last year he was ranked 12th. And Evan from Illinois. He's ranked 8th. And who is
We were literally just talking about those rivalries. Evan and Connor definitely have an Illini rivalry. You know, they're both trying to do some crazy stuff on the floor. You know, I think Connor McCool is putting in a 3.5 punch half into his routine. I think Evan might be doing the same thing as well. So definitely two big skills and two big routines to look out for this weekend. But as you see, you know, Jesse's killing it. He got some great landings. You know, not many form breaks in the air. You know, you see Rustam clapping on the side. That thing that Jim was doing in the corner, swing is basically just a way to get a breath before your dismount. You could do it at any point of your routine. Most gymnasts choose to do it in their dismount. And it's just an arm swing just because in the floor exercise, you're not allowed to stay still for longer than 2 seconds. So you're allowed one of those arm swings or any type of movement to allow yourself a breath of fresh air to, get a good dismount in. And Jesse clearly did that.
Yeah, Jesse is a really gifted floor guy. And it brings me back to one of my old teammates, Wyatt Tindall, who is his brother. We were always really upset that his brother ended up going to Ohio and not to Penn State. But it was always really interesting to watch those two go out on the floor and compete. And Wyatt as well was very good at floor. So whatever they're feeding those Canadians up there, making their floor just absolutely crazy. Next up for Pommel Horse, we went with Ian Skirky. The reason that we went with Ian Skirky was also because of this routine. This is a routine from last year. He scored 14.7. He was ranked number 3 last year, only behind Steven Nebraska and Michael Paradise, his other teammate. And he's been Brandon Ryan's number 42. But just beautiful horse. Keep an eye out for Colin Stern as well. And Luke from OSU.
Expect Ian Skirky to go out there and do it this weekend. It's probably, he might get a little bit beaten up last weekend. He didn't do the best. He got a score of 12.75 with 16 to start. It gives him about 1.25, which isn't a very good execution score, but Ian Skirky is definitely a gymnast to look out for. Definitely a great Pommel Horse worker.
Absolutely. Ian starts from a 16.0, which I believe is the highest start value in the NCAA currently. So if he's able to stay on the horse this weekend, he's going to shoot up in rankings, and I think he's going to really put it down. He's definitely in contention to take home the NCAA title this year.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
And like I said, his other teammate, Tommy, very good too. Really clean. Tommy doesn't have a huge start, but he's very, very, very clean. So next up, we have still rings. For still rings, I picked my friend Danny Graham. Danny is a amazing Yamawaki, and there's a Yamawaki right there. Goes back uprise cross, just like we said. Remember, those are both C's. Comes down, and then he goes cast, and he's going to stop in a handstand, and that's a front giant, just like we had talked about earlier. Boom, right there. See how he stops in the handstand? That's a front giant. Danny is very strong on rings, and it's going to be really exciting to watch. I think he's going to take home the ring title this weekend. Just so clean.
I say don't count out my boy Donovan Hewitt and Angel Leone from Ohio. Donovan's out here. I'm good friends with him. He's really trying to prove something this year and, really go after some All-Americans. And I know Angel Leone's a great gymnast, so definitely don't count them out. Look for those routines as well. Danny Graham killing it as usual.
Donovan Hewitt and Angel Leone are both ranked. Angel is currently ranked Angel last year was ranked 12th. He had a really strong average of about 13.7. So he definitely has the power to come in and, beat Danny. So it'll be interesting to watch those two go off. Next thing, we got a couple of clips for vault. First vault guy we have up is Evan. He's currently ranked number 3 with this beautiful vault from last weekend. Yurchenko 2.5, beautiful
landing.
2.5. Yeah, beautiful landing. I mean, you hardly ever see that. So also keep an eye out for Logan Myers from Illinois. And also, we're going to pull up Sean Abel. Really cool vault. Not a lot of guys are doing that vault still. It's a Yurchenko, which means he's round-offing onto the board rather than running and punching at the board. He's round-offing onto the board and then going actually backwards and doing a back handspring onto the table, and then still doing a 2.5 out, which is Really difficult.
For the people watching at home, those are two separate vault entries. One of them was the Kazumatsu vault entry by Evan, and the other one was the Yurchenko entry. The Yurchenko entry is typically a better entry because you don't have the leg split going over the table, which is what judges are typically looking for in a vault clip. Sean has a little bit of form in the air where Evan doesn't, which is why their scores should be relatively the same. Yep.
Yeah, they're just about the same.
Yeah. But for the most part, the Yurchenko entry is a better entry in terms of score-wise.
Yeah, you usually see guys that are doing Yurchenko's score higher. Just like you said, it's easier to be clean that way. So it'll be an interesting matchup, I think, between those two guys. They're both really good on vault, and they have a lot of potential. There's a lot of double 2.5s at this competition. And I believe there is another guy on Illinois that's doing a double front, so that'll be fun to watch too. Next up,
Ethan Boder's doing the double front.
Yeah, I think so. Next up, we have high bar. So, for high bar, we chose Angel Leon. This is from last season. This is a 14.4. This is his high bar. He was ranked number 2 last year on high bar. I mean, just an absolute monster. Also, keep an eye out for Jesse Tindall from OU, like we had talked about earlier. He had an average of 13.6, and he was actually ranked number 6 last year on high bar. Really good. Hamish Carter from Illinois. He had a rough weekend last weekend, but we're thinking he's going to bounce back this weekend. He starts from a 15.2, which is pretty good for high bar. And then also we have Jordan Kovac, who is ranked number 13. Real clean set for him.
It's very difficult to get a high bar start, so that 15.2 by Hamish is going to be very, very important to see what he can do with it. High bar is an event that people tend to get a little bit messier on, and the judges tend to hurt you a little bit more for that. But Hamish is a very clean gymnast. Let's see if he can challenge Angel Leon this week. I don't know, but we'll find out.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, especially to watch that high bar lineup, because I know that Jesse's ready to go, and I know Angel's ready to go, and I know Hamish is probably fired up after last weekend, so it's going to be interesting to watch those guys go at it.
Man, Illinois is known as a high bar team, so Hamish isn't the only one. Just know that there's going to be a bunch of other guys to watch.
There's a bunch of guys. I mean, Justin Spring was an Olympian, and is he a bronze medalist on high bar?
Silver
Maybe. Medalist on high bar.
Silver
so
medalist.
They got the best coach in the world for teaching high bar over there, so it'll be a really fun meet to watch.
He's great, man. He's great.
Great guy, by the way. Great guy. It'd be nice if we could get him on the show. I'd love to have him. Justin, if you watch this, we'd love to have you on the show, bust some interviews out, and talk about you guys. It'd be awesome. All right, next up is the meet on Sunday, January 24th, Michigan at Nebraska. It takes place at 1:30 tomorrow. It's a ranked number 2 Michigan is taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. It's the first meet of the season for Nebraska. Last year, Michigan started the season with a 400, which was in 2020. They've graduated 5 seniors: Michael Brown, Parker, Chubasco, Uche, Socrates, and Mac Laskert. I apologize if I butchered any names there. They have 9 seniors this year. So they are a seasoned team. And trust me, when we start pulling out some of these clips, you're going to understand why they're doing so good.
I know you said that OU versus Air Force was your meet to watch. For me, this is my meet to watch. I think Michigan has a bunch of great guys. You're going to be able to see the dynamic duo that they have right now with Cameron Bach and Paul Judah. They got a bunch of other great guys that fill in various different places. And Nebraska, expect them to put up some big numbers. Nebraska is definitely not a team to play around with. Nebraska, every single year in and year out, comes out with good guys and solid routines. So I think this is going to be a high-flying, very exciting, close meet to watch.
Absolutely. So let's go in here. We're going to look at Michigan. This is Michigan's first meet of 2020 versus their first meet of 2021. And as you can see, Michigan has only had improvements. Their floor, miles ahead of where it was prior. Their pommel horse, way better. I think in part that's due to Cameron Bach. Cameron Bach is putting it down on horse. Still rings as well. They are killing it compared to last year on on rings. I mean, getting almost all the way up to a 68 is very impressive on rings. High bar as well. You're gonna see why. They're ranked number 1 on high bar. Those guys are doing something else. Same thing with P-bars. P-bars is very, very, very good on their team.
Shout out my man Paul Judah. He's really putting it up.
Yeah, Paul Judah is killing it on those events. So, Nebraska, they haven't competed this year yet, but we're excited to watch them. They graduated 1 senior, so they didn't lose too much. But in terms of ranking, they finished 6th last year, which is pretty good. I mean, they started the 2020 season last year with a 403.5. So that's not far off from what Michigan scored in their first meet this year. So I think it's going to be actually pretty close.
Real quick, who do you think's your overall winner? Who do you have your money on? If you had to bet the house.
If I had to bet the house, I bet on Michigan. But if I was given some good odds, I'd probably bet on Nebraska. I feel like Nebraska's always got that heart whenever they come into a competition. Not to say that Michigan doesn't, because they do. But I always love watching Nebraska. I always feel like they're a sleeper,
Yeah. Nebraska definitely competes like family. Nebraska's at one place. If you're looking to compete in the NCAA as a JO gymnast, listen to us right now. Nebraska's a place that got some heart. They're definitely a family there, and you could watch it. You could see it. I'd have to say that Michigan is probably going to take it. But I don't think that it's going to be as close as people think it is. I think Nebraska's going to go out there and turn some heads.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close for sure. Here's a chart here of Michigan in 2021 versus Nebraska in 2020. This is their first meet. So Michigan actually lost to Nebraska's floor team last year. Nebraska is always very good on floor. I mean, putting up a 70 on floor is no joke. And they consistently put up 70s on floor almost seems like every year. Pommel horse, Nebraska actually ended up beating them. And still rings, Michigan's got a pretty big gap on them on still rings, but we'll see. Maybe Nebraska has brought on some new guys.
Yeah, Nebraska hasn't really been a rings team since I can even remember. They're more of a high bar team. I know the high bar score doesn't really show it right here, but they're more of a high bar team. Maybe they brought on some ring guys, or they got some people back, or anything. Got some things working. Don't count them out on rings yet.
No, definitely don't. It'll be very interesting to watch that. I mean, still rings for Michigan, they do have the best guy in the nation right now on still rings, so it'll be fun. It'll be definitely a fun still ring rotation to watch. Vault, again, they're very close on vault. Nebraska has always been very good at vault. Same thing like we had talked about earlier, and Michigan's very good on vault. P-bars, I would say P-bars is going to be pretty close. Nebraska did graduate Josh Martin, so their P-bar score, if a freshman isn't able to come in and pick that up, it might dip a little bit, but I'm thinking they got somebody that's going to come in, pick up that slack, and do a good job.
They definitely do. I'm sure they got something cooked up.
Absolutely. And then high bar, like Canon said, we're going to see on high bar.
Look, the scores are not representative of how good of a team Nebraska is on high bar.
No, I don't think so either. Nebraska's notorious for just being absolutely a great closer on high bar. They'll put it down on high bar. But so will Michigan. So I think that's going to be one of the most fun parts of the meet.
The ending.
The ending.
Yeah.
I think the ending. Yeah. Next up, we have a floor routine. Michigan versus Nebraska for this weekend. We ended up picking Paul Judah.
The
Paul
man,
Judah.
the myth, the legend, Paul Judah.
Absolutely crazy. Like, this guy is on something else. Just watching all of his routines, he is a truly gifted gymnast. He reminds me of Sam McCulloch. It's just unbelievable. I mean, look at that. Double stuck, steps in the corner. It doesn't even look gassed.
It's like he's playing a video game, man. Sometimes some of the kids, when they're playing video games, they say, like, he's cracked, bro. Like, he's honestly just cracked that floor, man.
He is. He's currently ranked number 3, and this is his routine from last weekend. He scored a 14.3. Also, keep an eye out for his teammate Nick Guy. He's ranked number 4 with a 14.15. Very good at floor as well. Also, look at this flare sequence. You know who else used to do that? Was Yul Moldauer. He used to do a flare sequence like that.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. Also, keep an eye out for Jake Bonet. Really, really, really talented floor guy. Last season, he was ranked 7th with an average of 14.65. Really great stuff. And then Charlie Giles from Nebraska as well. He has a brother, and we're going to talk about his brother in a minute. But last year, he had a high of 14.65. So he definitely has the firepower to beat Paul Judah out of that spot.
Yeah, man, just great set from Paul. Great.
Next up, we have
Let's go, Charlie. Come on, Charlie. Let's go, bro. Let's go, Charlie. Nice, Char. Nice, Char.
Still expect it to be a good rivalry, sibling rivalry.
Oh, yeah. Sibling rivalry, teammate rivalry. I mean, really, anytime that you can get a rivalry in on your team, it's only going to benefit you because it's going to push everybody on the team to be better. Cooper finished last season in 10th place overall, which is very good for a Pommel horse. But I'm thinking he could do even better this year. And I believe Charlie can do even better, too. So I almost think that they're up there with Ian Skirkey this year. I really do.
I haven't seen any training videos yet, so they're gonna have to prove it to me. So
All right,
let me see you guys come and get it this weekend.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch. Next up, we have still rings. For still rings, we had to go with Cameron Bach. Cameron is doing an amazing job this season. He's currently ranked number 1 on still rings. He put down a 14.25. This set that he's doing here, it's not the hardest set in the world, but there's no deductions. It's almost perfect. I'm watching the routine. I don't think he sticks his dismount, but watch this little neat segment right here. Back upright straddle planche, you're not taking anything. Dumps his legs together, gets a straight planche. So that's a C to a C. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's so clean. Perfect giants, like we had talked about earlier. That's a back giant right there. Remember, that's a C. Then we go into a front giant. That's another C. Also, keep an eye out for Paul Judah, his teammate, and Nikita from Nebraska. Last year, he scored a 13.9. It was his highest. And then Evan Heymanson from Nebraska. Last year, his highest was a 13.5.
Listen, take Isaac's word for some of this stuff, especially on rings. Isaac was definitely one of the best while he was making this tear through the NCAA. Isaac knows what he's talking about. So if Isaac says that Cameron's a force to be reckoned with, he's a force to be reckoned with. Trust me.
Thanks, Cannon. Yeah, I'm really excited for Cameron and Paul to just keep putting it down on rings. I think what they're doing is really smart, actually. I think in the past I've seen Cameron do 2 Malteses, but I'm looking at his all-around, and I don't know if he really needs to put 2 Malteses in there. I think he's doing a great job as is.
Maybe he just changed to make it a smarter routine. Sometimes coaches can do that. Sometimes the easy routine is the smarter routine. And Kurt Golder, Zhao, they're great coaches around there.
Yeah, really smart guys over there. And Paul Judah, too. Like we said before, dynamic duo. Cameron's ranked number 1 on rings. Paul Judah's number 2. The two of them are crushing it. I mean, absolutely crushing it. And it's not very often that you see 2 guys at the upper echelon of 2 events. Cameron and Paul are like, I think, top 3 on almost everything, which is just crazy.
Honestly, they're just beasts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can't get around it,
They are beasts. All right. Next up, we have vault. For vault, we decided
landing, and Nebraska got hard. They were going crazy for him in the back. Sadly, it cut off a little short, but
Yeah, unfortunately, that clip does cut off. But it's always crazy when your teammate sticks a vault. Everybody there is just going nuts because it's just the coolest thing ever. And let's see if we could get that to come up one more time for us.
Air, but perfect stuck landing. Can't ask for more as a coach.
Oh yeah. The other guys too, like we had said from Michigan, we have Paul Judah on there, and Nick Guy, I believe we have to watch on floor as well. So keep an eye out for Nick on floor. But Paul, again.
Listen, you
number
see,
one.
you see the pattern.
It's crazy.
Paul and Cameron, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Anytime you hear their name on the live stream, make sure you go look at it. Look, they're doing some great gymnastics, extremely high-level gymnastics, pushing Olympic-level gymnastics. So.
Absolutely. So we're going to move on to P-bars now. P-bars, I'm pretty sure you can already guess who we're going to show for P-bars. As our good friend, Paul Judah.
Look, and it's not to say that, Nebraska doesn't have good routines. Just like when somebody's really killing it like this, you kind of have to show them, Yeah. Paul Judah, he put in a lot of work. He deserves the respect that he gets. Same with Cameron. If somebody goes out there and really shows me something on Nebraska next week,
we're going to definitely put them on the show. And I'd love to have Nebraska guys on the show, too. Evan Heymanson, watch out for him on P-bars. Last season, he put up a 14.4, which is great. He was ranked 18th. And also Dylan King. Dylan's a great gymnast, honestly. He was ranked 24th, but he still put up a 14.1 on P-bars, which is no easy feat. If you look at that, Cameron Bach, he's only 1/10 behind Cameron Bach, and Evan has the firepower there to beat Cameron next weekend. So I think it's going to be great.
Yeah,
I really do.
Any Nebraska guys, any Michigan guys, I know a few of you guys, not to say names or anything, but even if you guys don't know me or Isaac, DM me on Instagram. My Instagram's just Canon Johnson. I know, or if you got Isaac's Instagram or whatever, if you guys want to come on the show, this Sunday or next week or anything, or talk about anything, send us clips. They might be featured on the show. Just reach out.
If you want to be on the show, please contact us. It would be amazing to have more people on the show. We can do it over a Zoom call very easily. Have you on, interview you, get you a platform, have you talk about your state. Have you talk about the state of gymnastics and ways that you think that you can help, or ways that you think we can help, and we can give you the platform to do that. I think Canon did that. I think Canon said it best. All right, so for the last routine that we're going to be watching today, it is, again, the man, the myth, the legend, Paul Judah.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
He's currently ranked at number 1. This routine is absolutely crazy. 14.45. He's just blowing everybody else out of the water.
Look at his lines, man.
You see how high that was? You look at that Kovacs. You don't see a Kovacs that high. It's just unbelievable.
Geez, man.
Keep an eye out for Thomas Paul as well. He's from Michigan. Griffin Keller. Last season, he put up a great score. And Dylan King, again, a great high bar. But just looking at Paul Judah here, he is amazing. Clean lines, like Canon was saying, beautiful angles, and a great routine construction, too.
Yeah, Paul, we talked at championships, we're all right. We're on good terms, reach out, We'll get you on the show this week, I'm sure that we'd love to have you, and everyone would love to hear about, your training, things that are different about your training, your eating habits, all the things that everyone wants to hear, and especially about the state of gymnastics. Yesterday, just, talking off the top of my head, me and Isaac, we're setting this thing up. It's our first time, and I genuinely believe that this might be our last chance at saving the sport. Programs like Minnesota and Iowa have been cut, and it's really a sad thing to see that the dream that I had growing up might not be around for other people. And we have an opportunity to donate to us, and we will help further the spread of gymnastics. And the people that come on the show, hopefully that they can see what we're doing, and we're trying to make gymnastics fun and interesting and very easy to understand, which is the main goal of this. And I believe that this could be that. This could be the one-stop shop for all of your gymnastics needs. No more of going to all these different websites, not being able to find links, not understanding the sport. The sport that we do is so beautiful. It's so beautiful, man. I love the sport of gymnastics. It's very frustrating to watch, and I know Isaac said it earlier. He's not going to see the sport. He's not going to sit back and see the sport crumble. Not like this.
No, because part of the Gymnastics Network is that we're going to do more than just this show. There's going to be all kinds of things that come out of this show. We're going to have a pregame show, and like I said, tomorrow on Sunday, we're going to have a postgame show. And for that, please contact us. We would love to have some athletes on, even the coaches. We'd love to have some coaches on, kind of get an insider aspect into everything and give you a platform. But like I said before and at the beginning of the show, this is the best sport in the world. It really is. And I want to teach as many people about the sport as we can. I want to educate as many people about everything that we possibly can and make gymnastics something that is so great, something that's so amazing, because that's what it deserves. It had it in the past, but times have changed and we haven't adapted. And this is a way for us to adapt and really grow into something amazing. So if you enjoyed what you saw here today, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. Please allow us to continue doing this. All the links for the meets will be in the description, so you'll be able to find them very easily after watching this video. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, we have a website, and we're setting up some donation stuff so that we can keep the show going and also help out the CGA. So thank you very much for your attention and your time today. If there's anything that you think we could do better, that we can improve upon, please leave a comment, email us directly, send me a DM on Instagram, send Canon a DM on Instagram, whatever it is. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, thank you.